Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, are we just in it now? Are we talking now
we're
about
recording, so it doesn't matter, But
Yeah.
well,
Do we
but
want to
can,
say what the name of the movie is?
yeah, but well, we have to do like a starting thing, which yeah. So okay, so is this where we say welcome to Earnful of Popcorn? I guess it is.
I guess.
I just said it. So what's the movie this week? This time episode?
So episode, yeah.
I'm not gonna say
episode
week
3.
because I don't want people to think this
Nah.
will come out every week. Okay.
No, we do this whenever we feel like it.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt your introduction, but now you just burped, so it's probably good that I was talking. Okay, go ahead.
I just burped.
No, you just burped.
You didn't hear it.
No, I did
didn't hear it,
That's
though.
what I'm saying. Is
Did you?
Yeah, yes, I did not burp. I said you burped, so it's good I was talking, so I talked over it, but I totally heard it. These mics are very sensitive. That's why we had the whole
great.
problem with air conditioning. Okay, introduce the movie.
Episode 3 is Carnival of Souls.
Directed by Herc Harvey.
Yep.
And everything about this movie is interesting, don't you think?
I mean, I didn't know it was a cult classic. I didn't know it was a revival. I just happened upon it going through Amazon movies one night. And then I think I had asked you if you had seen it.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yes,
that's
did.
when I found out it was a cult classic, which I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. I don't think the revival was that long ago, but like I saw it because Shudder got it a couple years ago, and I think it's probably not duty free. That's in the airport. What is it? Public domain. Public domain. Anyway, I think it is. But anyway, so Criterion Collection also put out a nice release of it, so I got that recently, and it looks gorgeous. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where the guy, this was his only feature film he directed. It's a Star's only real feature film. She was in a couple other things. And everybody else was just like, I don't know, just some asshole from Kansas, right? So, and I mean that not because they're assholes, but just because they're just randos. It's people. So,
Well, I did read a bit about Herc and his friend John Clifford, who wrote this beautiful movie, that they both worked at a production company together in Kansas.
yeah, doing corporate movies.
Yeah, making, like PSAs and things like that.
Well, and I think like in the 50s and 60s, it's like the wonder of tinfoil, stuff like that. Those old movies, that's probably the kind of shit they're making, right?
Actually, I watched a couple of them.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, there's some interviews with them in the 80s on YouTube that you can watch if you want to look it up. They were, when you watch them, you can kind of see how he got, how really amazing he is at getting the shots that he wants. That they're really beautiful to watch, and which makes sense because this movie is really beautiful to watch.
Totally. Yeah.
So if you want to check it out, you can kind of see why the movie is the way that it is. He was kind of doing that stuff for the production company he was working for, which you wouldn't think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray I think that I got has all the stuff on it. I didn't watch it. I know it has some of their corporate films on it, but that's one of the things. There's a lot of things that are cool about it. But yeah, it's like just this guy who knew how to make films just as like as a job. Like, maybe not super considered himself an artist or anything, but this is what he did for a living, and he was traveling for work one day and drove past this big weird building pavilion thing in Salt Lake City on his way back home to Kansas. And
Yeah, because he had driven by it and was like, what is that? That's really cool. Something should be done there.
Yeah, he told his buddy, John Clifford? Is that what you said?
Yes, John Clifford.
So he told his buddy, hey, I want you to write a movie that ends with like ghosts dancing in this pavilion in Salt Lake City. So the guy was like, okay. That's what they did. There's a lot of shots of this thing as some sort of looming presence in the movie. It's awesome. But it's, a couple episodes ago, I talked briefly on some tangent about Tammy and the T-Rex, because that came about in a similar way. Because someone was like, hey, I have this robotic T-Rex in Texas somewhere. Let's make a film about it. So that's what they did. I love that. You know?
I do too. It reminds me of like when certain directors like John Hughes he would collect the music beforehand and then write a script to it. And
yeah,
doing this of finding a location that you really like and building a story around it. I always appreciate those movies more. I find it's more magical that way.
With the dinosaur thing, Tammy the T-Rex, like they wanted to make money, you know? And so they're like, we're going to use this T-Rex to make money. And I think Herc Harvey and Carnival of Souls probably felt that way too, although the guy was interested in movies and film, and he was interested in European film and tried to make this look like some of the French New Wave stuff because he liked those guys. And but also, I mean, he's like, yeah, we'll make money. You're right. It adds this unique thing because like this is a completely outsider art thing. I mean, this is not really done with Hollywood involved at all. So it's cool. He's just this guy with his money. Just was like, yeah, I want to make a movie about that building.
Well, Herc actually does make a statement in one of the interviews that they wanted this movie to be in art houses. They wanted it to be perceived as an art film, which it is now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was on a double bill with another movie.
Yeah, like B movies.
Yeah, it was. I actually have it here. It was The Devil's Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, The Devil's Messenger.
Which I'm guessing. Who knows what that's like?
We should watch that sometime.
Ooh, Lon Chaney Jr. is in it. So, Lon Chaney Jr. as Satan.
We gotta watch it.
Well, now I want to watch it. The hell? And then the next character listed is Karen Cadler as Satania. So I'm guessing Satania is Satan's daughter, probably? I'm not going to read what this is about. I'm not going to read it. Just someday we'll find
amazing. What a great name.
But you're right. So there's this weird, moody art film that has a lot of like, I don't know, feels like that. There's a lot of meaning in it. There's a lot going on in this movie, and it's a haunting movie. It's not like a horror movie. Like there's not a monster really. There's not like jump scares. Although there's some pretty sick jump scares actually that are kind of like jump scares, I guess. But it's very unusual. And I think it was one of those things just super duper ahead of its time. And that's why almost 60 years later, 60 years later, people started appreciating it.
Did you watch it? Have you watched it only in black and white, or have you watched it in the color version yet?
There's a color version?
Yes, there is.
You're blowing my mind with all this looking into things. Okay, tell me more.
I get really interested in finding out all the background because it really fascinates me.
That's great.
And how you said before, it's really awesome how good movies or bad movies get made. It's incredible that they get made. So I always want to find out how it happened, how these people came together, and how this amazing piece of, I think most horror movies are a work of art. That's just my opinion.
Film is art, period. If anyone tries to tell you otherwise, fuck them.
Timmy will be in your DMs telling you to fuck off.
Yeah. And and you're right though. Every movie's got a story behind it, because there's probably very few, if any, movies that were ever like, yeah, we wrote a script, got some people together, went out and shot it, then we made it. Like, there's always some weird shit that happens, and that's kind of that's part of doing it, and that's why it's a collaborative thing. And that's doing a TV show can be similar too, especially when you shoot it in the way they shoot a film, which is like how we did most of White as kids. But so weird shit comes up, weird shit happens. Sometimes there's a dog barking at Sam in the cowboy sketch, and you're like, we didn't ask for that dog, but it's perfect. And this is the same way. There's just weird, like, especially in Carnival of Souls, some of that they shot guerrilla style, which means they didn't ask to be in that department store. And he was just fucking took his camera in there and just shot it.
No, they bribed people.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so there's like when you see people in the background of this movie, most of the time they have no clue what's going on. Which is awesome.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And it's really funny to look at this now, 60 years old, and they're 62, I guess, and it's so, it looks very elegant, it's very beautiful, and of course everybody's in suits, and Candace Hilgoss looks so, beautiful and very elegant the whole time. And it's weird to think about, like, 60 years ago, this kind of punk fucking rock, the way they did it.
It really is, and she did her own hair and makeup.
Nice.
That's one of the first things I notice about her is how beautiful her hair is.
Yes.
I mean, the entire movie. And she did that all herself. And she even says, and I keep bringing up the interviews, but they're really, really cool to listen to people talk about a movie they made that long ago and how much they still remember and she talked about how she showed up. They have no budget. So everybody just did, when you talk about like the guerrilla filming, they just did what they had to do to make it work.
And most of the movie, she's just supposed to be a nice done-up lady, so it makes sense that she could do her own makeup. But so in the little bits towards the end, does she, when she has kind of a more ghoulish look, so did she do that too?
Yeah, everybody did their own makeup.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because even Herc did his own makeup, with the ghoulish white
Yeah, he's the main
face.
guy that shows up. He's the weird kind of zombie guy, ghost guy, whatever it is, the ghoul that shows up all the time.
He's called
That's
the Man.
The Man, yeah.
He's called the Man.
Yeah.
Just the Man, which is really creepy.
Yeah, no, it's really creepy.
To be called the Man.
And you know
just
what
keeps
else?
appearing everywhere
it's
I
just
go.
The Man. Well, you know what? And I always like a movie that doesn't spoon feed you, and so they're not really telling you what's going on. And just so anybody listening knows, before we get too far, there's not really a good way to talk about this movie without talking about the ending, and so whatever, it's gonna be totally spoiler whatever, right? I mean,
spoilers. You have your chance.
So it begins with her and her friends driving a car off a bridge into the water because some dudes decide to drag race with them. So the car goes in the water, and then the woman gets out and goes about her life. And but then it turns out the whole thing didn't happen, and she's still dead in the car.
I did not see that coming.
You did when you first saw it? Yeah.
I did not predict that. Did you predict that?
I don't know. After a while, when there's a scene like maybe about halfway through when she's in the department store and then suddenly everybody can't hear her and she can't hear them. That's when I was like, oh, I bet she's dead.
That is the best part. I love that part.
Well, yeah, it's very well done. Yeah, the department store, totally awesome. But
it's scary. Like that to me, that was one of my notes that I wrote was that depicts for me what anxiety in life feels like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is not being like, why can't I hear anything?
Yeah, and they can't hear me.
Yeah, to me that's what anxiety feels like.
Totally. That's definitely. I think there's many ways it can happen, but that makes sense, and it kind of makes sense because she didn't know she's a fucking ghost or whatever she is. So she is. And speaking of, is she a ghost or whatever? The movie, like I said, doesn't spoon feed you because it's never really. I mean, okay, so she's physically still dead in the car. So is this her? Like the way I kind of like when I took my notes for this and stuff is like it was kind of like, hey, the way I wrote it was like a lot of the weird stuff that breaks into her universe is like basically death or maybe her dying body saying, hey, we're dead now.
Oh, yeah.
So like when in the middle of the movie, she's in this department store and, this lady just, she was about to start a new job. So when she gets out of the crashed car in the river, she does her new job. She moves to Utah and starts her new job as a church organist. And, which, wow, remind me that I went there when I tell my story about the connections, because I just had another connection. Wow. That's all involved with the same thing. So anyways, but so she doesn't know. She's just kind of going through her life. And so then when that happens, to me, that was like, and like the man that keeps showing up. That's the other weird thing that keeps happening. She sees this guy and he's like somehow outside of her car while she's driving to Utah, right?
Yeah,
He's kind of floating there.
there's like an image in the window.
Yeah.
There's they do hint at the very end that she was a ghost that materialized in reality because the priest and the cop go looking for her.
Yeah. Okay.
The priest that had hired her at the church, and they find footprints in the sand.
Right.
So
that's when Jesus was carrying her. Anyways.
That was not what I thought. But
no, it's not. But what if it is?
But and it's real quick them doing that scene. So what my thought is that the man who's been following her finally meets up with all the other ghoul dancers, and that's them bringing her to the other side. That's what I thought in my mind. Is that he's following her because he's like, you shouldn't, like, where are you going? Like, where are you going? Like, you're dead. You're supposed to be here.
Right. Yeah, because he's trying to take her.
That's what I took from it.
He's trying to, what do you call it, wrangle her. He's the ghost wrangler. He's supposed to bring them to heaven.
Yes.
So I forget, and I feel like I ask you this every episode. Have you watched all of the TV show Lost?
I've watched all of it once.
Okay, but you remember how it ends?
When it aired.
Ish? Like, the general idea of how it ends?
Don't.
Okay. And I don't know. It's an old show now. It came out 20 years ago. But, I mean...
That's insane.
I know. It's so fucked up. God. Anyways.
We used to get together and have viewing parties to watch that show when it would air.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I was in, so I got into it a couple years after it came out, but yeah, we definitely hung out sometimes to watch it. But anyway, so, I don't know, maybe spoilers for Lost. I guess I don't have, whatever. All I'm saying is the people who made Lost definitely fucking saw this movie because the last season of Lost kind of involves a very similar dynamic of somebody trying to be like, hey, everybody gather up so we can move to the next reality kind of deal. And you know what's cool is like, so your interpretation and mine are totally are different. Whereas I kind of saw it's all happening inside of her, as death tries to like say, "Hey, you're fucking dead," and it actually ties into someone I know who's dead, who's Trevor, because Trevor told me years ago, decades ago, that he thought heaven, what the afterlife really is that when you die. A chemical is released in your brain that only happens when you die, and it like basically makes you hallucinate. Like that's like, and while your brain's dying or whatever. So, and
that's why people see the white tunnel and have flashbacks
or like the little guy on the horse that's not in Happy Gilmore. He sees that, not his friend who's dying. But anyways, you know what I mean. If you see a little guy on a horse, that's because of brain drugs. Whatever.
I believe that.
But yeah, and so, in like we talked about with Body Melt and The Burning, everything so far that we've watched, they don't really hit you over the head with reasons and origins of things. Just like, here's what happened, So whatever it is,
which makes it really fun to watch.
Yeah, totally. And that's why it's fun to talk about because we both have different things, theories about it, whatever. And it's like all you need to know to watch. The only plot you have to understand is that she crashed her car. Weird shit's happening. She sees this guy, and she's just trying to like get a new life set up in Utah. And then eventually she kind of gets taken away by this guy, and it turns out she's been dead the whole time. Like that's all. Like once you watch the movie and sit down, that's all you have to like understand about it. And so many people try to understand too much about a movie. It's like, that's all you need to know. The rest is for you to think about,
And not only is she being harassed by this ghoulish man,
but she's also being harassed by a ghoulish man.
He's a creep that lives across the hall from her.
Ugh. God, fucking John, right? John. Yeah. We decided when we record this episode, by the way, to not be so beholden to plot points, but just so people understand. So the car crashes in the water. She kind of just rescues herself and just shows up on the beach, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Fine." And then she like gets her life back together, and she's moving to Utah to play organ for a church. And so she moves into this like boarding house, right? You would say, right?
Yeah,
Like a
and I
boarding,
love the
is that what you call those?
I love the old lady that runs the boarding house. She's
Yeah.
my favorite. Her accent, the way that she talks makes me very happy. I can't replicate it,
It's kind of
unfortunately.
Western, right?
She kind of just talks like this. Like she
Yeah.
makes her vowels last a little bit longer. She does that like southern drawl.
Okay.
It's like I got sandwiches and I got fixins for sandwiches.
Yeah.
She kind of talks
Kind
like
of a
that.
Midwesterny thing, maybe, or I don't know. I would spend enough time in Utah. Maybe there's a Utah accent. I don't know. But yeah, so she moves in this boarding house, and basically immediately she gets a little alone time because then she gets to take a bath, and then the guy across the hall decides to introduce himself and harasses her for pretty much the entirety of Act Two of the movie. Uh, and what I like about it towards the end, she's like, "Fucking get away from me," and then you don't see him anymore. Like they didn't do what a Hollywood movie would have done there is probably try and have them make peace somehow,
Mm.
you know. But instead, like the way that her relationship with this creep ends is like, "No, I'm not gonna fuck you. Goodbye," that's it.
Little did
Unless
he
I'm forgetting
know.
something,
He
but I
wa-
think that's it.
Little did he know he was flirting with the ghost.
Yeah, I wonder after the movie, after the point of the story where the movie ends, I wonder if the sheriff or the priest went and told this guy, like, by the way, you were horny for a ghost, and it like fucked up the rest of that character's life.
Deserved.
Yeah, be deserved. And it's like, and you can we can talk about this more because you're a lady who likes dudes, and dudes that like ladies are often shitty, and you know that, and so you've had more experience with this kind of stuff than me. But I will say that to me, in almost any situation in life, if you say you're not something, you probably are, and if you like to proudly declare you're something, you're probably not. Like one of my daughter's friends said, "I'm weird." I said, "Weird people never say they're weird," and it's true. People who are actually weird, they don't say it. When you hear like some mom or aunt out here in the Midwest go like, "Oh, I'm weird," it's always something stupid, right? It's like, "Oh yeah, I like cheese on my apple pie, but I'm weird." It's like that. No, you're not fucking weird. That's a thing. Don't worry about it. But anyway, so he comes over. She's in her towel, and he's like, "Oh, you're in your towel. Why don't I just come in and talk?" And then he like immediately starts talking about how we should get together at night and stuff. And then he keeps saying like, hey, you got the wrong idea about this. It's like, no, she doesn't.
That actor did such a good job
Yeah, he did.
playing a sleazeball because he made me feel icky.
I bet he hated doing it.
I guarantee every woman that has seen this movie has dealt with this exact person in real life. And he does it so well where he tries to play like the nice guy that lives across the hall. If you need anything, oh, look, I brought coffee for you. Yeah. And then when the scene when they're in the bar and he's just going off on her like, you don't drink, you don't dance, like I brought you out and you won't do anything with me. It's like, fuck you, dude. It's always those nice guys that say they're nice, like you said. If they say that, they're not. It's just because he's trying to get something from you, and if he doesn't get it, then you're the bitch.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy. And he plays that role really well.
Yeah, and it's such a common thing. And he's a proto incel. That's what, that whole thing is like, if you're nice to a girl, they should fuck you. They should immediately grab out their fucking parts and fuck you immediately. It's like, why don't you, like... and he's so icky, and I think the part to me, not being a woman who's been hit on a whole bunch, to me the ickiest part is when he's like, "Well, I'm not like that," because it's like, okay, are you convinced you're not like this? Because you fucking like this, you suck. And
you're like this, you gross ass man.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, and he's just, gaslighting is definitely a term I wrote down because he's just fucking gaslighting the shit out of her the whole time. Like, oh, you're weird and you don't like me. You're crazy because you don't like this. That's fucking classic gaslighting verbal abuse, isn't it?
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is. Like, she actually goes, you know what? She even says this in the bar scene. She goes, I do want to hang out with you. But then she says, like, I don't want to be alone. So he kind of takes that as, like, yeah, but you don't necessarily want to be with me, you
Yeah.
asshole
It's like,
bitch.
this isn't about you at all, dude. Like,
No.
this woman is having a existential crisis because she doesn't understand she doesn't exist anymore. So that's her existential crisis, is that she is no longer existential.
Can you imagine in the afterlife, you can't even get any fucking peace from men?
Yeah, from fucking
at
dudes.
all?
I know, it's terrible. It's almost like the man, the ghoul guy, was like trying to. He's like, let's get away from this dickhead so you can go fucking rest. Maybe just dance with some nice people,
Yeah, and I love the scene when they're when they're dancing at the end, and then you notice that she's now dancing with the man, and they do
Yeah.
that little bow thing, and she sees herself. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's cool and weird, and there's a lot of people that you can tell have seen this movie. Like I said, the people who made Lost definitely have seen it. Stanley Kubrick has also seen this movie.
Yeah.
Because that's the end of The Shining, very, very close to that.
Well, and Rob Zombie,
Yeah, definitely Rob Zombie.
because he helped. I sent you the picture of the soundtrack that was released last year.
Oh, right, he put out the soundtrack. Yeah.
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 So, thank you, Rob Zombie. That's really
Good job,
really
buddy.
cool. Yeah.
Every once in a while, he does. He's interesting. But anyways, I want to talk about John the Creep a little more. I'm sure we'll get back to him anyways. But so, early in the movie, she's taking a bath at night the first night there, and he's like, hey, and kind of tries to get her to date him immediately, and she's like, fucking no, and so he leaves.
She just met him.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so then in the morning, he brings her coffee, and then he's giving her coffee, and of course he's sitting there and trying to creep his arm over. You've had that done to you a zillion times, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I probably did too once, where the guy, you're sitting next to the lady on the couch and the arm goes behind and starts trying to get you, right?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't want that. Get away from me.
Yeah, no one should want that. God, if I did ever do that, I apologize, but it's probably because it was an understood, accepted thing. Anyways, we wanted to go into that, but
Reveal yourself, Timmy Williams. Reveal yourself.
well, no, I'm just saying, like, we used to be very friendly, and so I probably did the arm thing as because we were being very friendly. I would never do it in this situation. You know what I mean? I was raised polite enough to know that shit. Yeah, he brings her coffee. Then he starts trying to put the swerve on her, and then the motherfucker is like, "Hey, let's get drunk." It's like 7:30 a.m., buddy.
Does he ever say what he does for a living in the
He says something. He kind of says, "I'd like work in a factory." That's pretty much all he says.
Yeah.
And I just wrote down several notes about this. So sketchy to try and get a strange woman, because she's still a strange woman to him. He doesn't know her.
That too.
So sketchy to try and get a strange woman drunk in the morning. Right? Like, in the morning. Like, okay, if you go up to a pretty lady in a bar and ask to buy her a drink, okay, that's generally normal. If she says no, then you back off. But that's like an acceptable social thing to go do, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, at the bar at night. But, like, in the morning, going into her room, be like, you want to get fucking drunk? And by the way, there's only one door, and I'm standing by it. It's like, Jesus. And I also wrote down, though, because Mary, that's the main character's name, Mary should teach a class called Shutting Out Creeps 101, because she, like, it's almost like I don't know, if I were a lady, I would maybe see this as empowering, because, like, she doesn't fucking put up with it bullshit. Like, he doesn't ever get anywhere with her.
No, she shuts it down right away.
I mean, what do you think about that?
He doesn't get the hint, though. And this happens a lot of times with men, is that
Right.
it doesn't matter how nice you say no, how mean you say no, how many times you say no, they don't hear it. They say, to them, no is a yes.
Yeah.
Is how far can I push until this person just gives up and gives me what I want? That's what that is.
Because I'm a man. I'm probably white if I'm acting like this, and the world owes me everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the fucking mindset.
I've never been told no, and this lady's not going to tell me no.
Jesus Christ, man, it's such a fucking bummer. But
Yeah.
but that also, coming back to the movie, it's kind of cool how they do it in this movie, because you're talking about a movie that's 60 years old. Sexually harassing women was just straight up A-OK.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, it was in every piece of media. Spousal abuse was like fine. Like, everybody's going home at night to watch Jackie Gleason threaten to punch his wife in the face. Like, it's fine. And so here you have this movie where, I mean, and obviously we're watching it a long time later, but you'd have to think even the people watching it back in the 60s were like, oh, that guy's a fucking slime ball. Because, like, they don't gloss it over. They don't make it whimsical or funny or anything. They just kind of show it. And then they show her being like, no.
Yeah.
And you really feel for her, because this whole movie, she kind of feels very disconnected from everybody. And obviously it's because she's dead, but she also doesn't seem to be too concerned with her with the fact that she's feeling that way. So I feel like she was that way in her life too, just kind of disconnected.
I mean, when you see her riding in the car in the first scene, you can kind of tell that maybe this is how I felt watching it, was that she's hanging out with these girls. They're probably not really her best friends or good friends.
Right.
To me, she seemed like she's just like, okay, they asked me to come along. I really didn't want to come along. And this is why, because this girl's an asshole. Like, why are you drag racing with these stupid ass dudes?
Yeah, why are we doing this?
Um,
Yeah. I think she got in the car just because these girls had the best pot, and it was like one of those things where, like, oh, now I got to hang out with the dealer. Now he wants to do a country run with me. I don't know. I know you grew up sort of in the Midwest, but country run, you know what that means, right? You go get in the car, drive around the country, and get high.
Yeah.
So
do that.
maybe she just was doing that. She didn't really want to be with these people. She's trying to get that swank, that skunk.
Or is
the kindest buds. Anyways, go ahead.
well, she does say, I mean, think about it. So even if these were her best friends, whatever, they all went over a bridge together. Her friends died.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I'm getting out of here. I'm never fucking coming back here. Because also the guys that caused them to go over the bridge, do you remember how the cops was asking the driver, like, well, what happened? And the guy's like,
yeah, and he lied.
He's like, I don't know what happened. Like, not taking any responsibility. None whatsoever.
And he said she passed him or something. She was like, they passed me.
Some dumbass shit. And it's like, you fucking prick. There's dead girls in the water. And so she's like, I'm never coming back here. Fuck this place. And now she's got to deal with this slime ball from across the hall. Like, she can't get away from shitty fucking dudes. And I said that already. But
no, what?
I had said that already, that she can't get away from these shitty dudes.
But it's definitely a point, though. And I was going to go off the fact that you said that, like, and I just thought about it now. So it's like, yeah, in the beginning, she dies because of these shitty dudes who end up being dishonest assholes. And then she, has this creepy fucking guy bothering her in the new city she just moved to. And also her boss, the priest at the church, the new church, is kind of a dick to her. And the doctor that she talks to is trying to help her, but also kind of condescending. And so every man she seems to interact with is kind of a shithead. And the only one she's afraid of is the one who's trying to lead her to a better place.
Yeah.
She kind of gives everybody else a pass. And even though John keeps trying to hit on her and she, like we said, shuts him the fuck down quite a bit, she's still, you can, and maybe it's the 60s, maybe people are more polite, but I mean, Shandi, if you were her, I would like to think that you would, like, punch that guy in the dick eventually, right?
Well,
or something.
Like, women learn a skill that men will never learn, is that we have to learn how to assess strange men that we come across the minute we walk out of our house. How do we respond to them if they say something to us or do something towards us? Are they a good person? Do we respond politely? Do we tell them to fuck off? Do we run away? So, depending on, I mean, she freaks out at that guy that's trying to get a drink of water out of the fountain.
Yeah.
And then you have then the doctor runs up and, like, grabs her. It's like, you don't know this woman.
Yeah.
But she is being hysterical, so maybe he's like, I'm a doctor, I can help her. But
Yeah, settle down, but still.
you have to assess what to do, because like I said before, you can be nice to a man that you don't know, and they just immediately treat you like shit. Or
Yeah, get the wrong idea,
yeah. So you
Yeah,
have to be careful.
and it's funny when John.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to cut you off there because that's a really good stuff. That's a good stuff you say.
That's the good stuff you say.
Yeah. But so John later is like, "You're so cold." It's like, bitch, why do you think she's cold? Every time she opens up to someone, they're a fucking prick. Like, and yes, also she's dead. That's also why she's cold. But she doesn't know that. She had just moved. She feels some sort of unease because this ghoulish man's following her.
Her friends are dead.
Her friends are fucking dead, whoever these people are. She had a near death experience as far as she knows. And and then she moves to a new town, and what's the first thing that happens is some guy tries to fuck her when she's just in her towel. And it's like, well, why do you think she's cold? So that's why I think this movie is kind of secretly progressive in a way. And it makes me want to know more about Herc Harvey and his friend that wrote it, because it's like, were they just trying to make this cool, very cheap, low budget, creepy movie, or did they really want to say these things about, or was it that when Candice Hilligoss came on board as the main character, she was like, no, my character's not going to put up with this shit. Maybe she was very strong-willed,
Well, if you think about it, and you kind of made a point to it before of saying how misogyny was the norm back then. So a man writing the script, it makes sense that there's men in the movie treating women like shit.
Right.
Because that's the norm of the time. And it's something that they can, I don't even think relate is the word. It's just how women were treated. So I don't know if they were trying to say anything at all. I think they were just, that's the time that it was.
Sure, yeah. But I feel like I feel like other movies would have, like a Hollywood movie.
I hope I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, me too. Because it doesn't feel, it feels like John, the creepy John, the guy across the hall from her, it feels like, he's not candy coated at all. That's just how he is. There's no whimsical music, maybe a little bit, but not really. Well, there's no whimsical music. All the music's creepy. So there's, it's just him, like his creepy bullshit and his little woe is me self-victimizing bullshit at the end. And so even if they didn't intend to, it really feels more naked than it does in a lot of other 60s movies and 50s movies and things like that, where it doesn't feel like it's a lot of times when a man's being shitty to women or whatever, like it's got this whole whimsical thing, or the lady's into it, like, oh, you boys, that kind of shit. There's none of that. Like, he keeps coming on to her. She's like, fucking no. And even when she starts showing a little vulnerability because she's so worried about this weird ghoul guy that's following her and says, I want to be with you, like, she doesn't say, I want to have sex with you. She's trying to be around people so that this guy doesn't get her, is how I took it. And it's, so I just feel like the movie really, it could have dressed up John's creepiness, and it didn't. So it all, maybe it wasn't a choice. Maybe it's because it was so low budget they just shot it once and that was it. Maybe Candice Hilligoss said, no, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. Because she didn't get very many jobs in Hollywood, and she later got divorced and wrote a book about called like Gone with the Idiot, or anyway, she wrote a book where in the title she says her ex-husband's an idiot. So she didn't put up with men.
I sent you her website.
Yeah, I looked around a little bit. Yeah, I'd seen it before.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if it's active anymore,
it doesn't look
but
like it.
I read a little synopsis of her book, and basically, the reason why you don't see her in any more films or anything like that is because she gave up her career
for her dude,
for her husband's career, so that he could fulfill his dreams.
Yeah.
And she really resents that she made that decision. And it's really sad because it's like, in reality, this woman is terrorized by her fucking husband. Like, overshadowing her career and because she was fucking great in this movie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what other stuff she could have been in and done? Like, I could have
Right.
seen her in a Hitchcock film.
For
For
sure.
real.
So now you've set it up by maybe on purpose or on accident, but now I think this is a
No,
perfect time for me
by
to talk
accident.
about my okay. But you know what? I mean, this is exactly. So first of all, let me backtrack. The book she wrote about getting divorced is called The Odyssey and the Idiocy. So that's fucking awesome.
So good.
And yeah, so she didn't have a career because of him. I also feel like she seems pretty like a ballsy broad, you know, and I think that probably didn't fly in Hollywood. I would not be surprised if there was a story of a producer that tried to fuck her. She says no, and boom, she's not in movies, you know.
Yep.
But so Shandy was just saying, you know, she's so good in this movie and stuff, and I thought the same thing. The first time I watched this about a year ago, I'd always meant to watch it, just never sat down and did it. So I'm watching Carnival of Souls. And before I started the movie, I just texted my parents about something. So I had like my little text chat with my mom and dad up. And so anyway, so I'm watching Carnival of Souls, and I'm not texting during the movie. I'm paying attention to the movie. But yeah, you know, about 20 minutes, 30 minutes in, I'm like, God, this lady playing Mary is great. I mean, obviously she's beautiful, but also her acting is really good. And she, you know, it's a weird part. It's a weird role to be this kind of cold woman who is not really attached to anything and doesn't know what's happening to her, all this stuff. And so it's an interesting role. And I was like, God, this lady's good. How come she's never been in anything else? So I paused the movie and I Google her. And Candice Hilligoss is her name. And she is from Huron, South Dakota, which is like, I don't know, 90 minutes from Watertown where I live. And so since I just happened to be texting my parents, they had texted back about whatever else we were talking about. I don't know. Yes, Mom, you can make that casserole. It's fine. I don't know. Anyways, whatever it was. Well, you know, my mom does that kind of thing where you'll get a text like, call me back right away. You're like, oh, fuck, who's dead?
No.
It's like, hey, I'm at Walmart. Do you need more shirts? It's like, Jesus.
Oh,
Why don't you just tell me this?
that's such a Midwest mom thing.
It is. It sucks. But, so anyway, so that's probably what we were texting about. So anyways, since I had paused the movie and I just looked up Candice Hilligoss, I'm like, you're never going to believe this. I said, this lady is in this horror movie and never really heard of her before. And I looked her up. And turns out she's went to Huron. She's from Huron. And my dad's like, how old is she? And at the time, because her birthday is in August, and this is like last September, October, so she was 88. So I'm like, well, she's 88 years old. And my dad says, well, Donna is 88 and is from Huron. Donna is my step-grandma on my dad's side. When his mom, my grandma Patty, died, we were very close with this lady Donna's family for years and years and years and years. And so when my grandpa's wife died and her husband died, she and my grandpa got together. And it was that cute old people thing where they're just like, well, you know, maybe they're making out. I don't know. But it's mostly they just wanted to be around somebody, you know?
Oh, that's awesome.
But my grandpa did grow out a mustache when he started dating Donna.
Ah, cool.
So, you know. She's probably about 10, I don't know, 9, 10 years younger than him maybe. But so anyway, so Dad was like, well, Donna's from Huron and 88 years old. I'm like, well, that's a weird coincidence. And Donna, despite being, well, now 89, she's a hip lady, man. She's very cool. And so she could text, right? So I text her. I said, Donna, what do you know about Candice Hilligoss? And she, like, immediately calls me after I send the text. It's like 2 minutes. And then, boom, she calls me. She's like, how do you know about Candice Hilligoss? And I was like, I'm watching Carnival of Souls. And I thought she was really awesome in it. And I thought it was weird. I'd never heard of her before. So I looked her up and she's from Huron, and Dad says, since you're the same age, you might know her. And Donna goes, yeah, I went to high school with her. She's my friend. And I was like, what?
Woo!
And she's like, well, how did you hear about this? I'm like, well, I've become a big horror movie fan the last 10 years or whatever. And I said, Carnival of Souls is one of those movies that didn't really go anywhere, but now when the digital age and everything, people found it and put it out there, and people really like it. It's kind of got a following. She's like, that's so cool. I was like, yeah. And I said, so what was she like? And she's like, well, you know, we were friends in high school. And then she moved to New York. And that's Candice Hilligoss was living in New York when she got cast in this movie. And so, you know, she later did that. But so step-grandma Donna's saying, yeah, well, she moved to New York. But before that, yeah, they were friends in high school. And Donna's like, I was not shocked at all that she went into acting because she was really charismatic and really funny and really driven. And I was like, oh, great, you know? So, Yeah, what a weird coincidence, though, right? Like,
And
I happen to
confirmation.
watch this movie that's lost to time. Confirmation of, huh?
She confirmed that this lady wouldn't put up with shit
Yes,
because
yes,
she's
yeah,
driven.
exactly. Well, and here's the other funny thing. Okay, so the thing where I a little bit ago, but and I told you to remind me,
Yeah.
right? Well, I did remember, and here it is. So, Donna is an organist.
Whoa.
Isn't that fucking weird? Yeah, I just realized that. And Donna is a very energetic, lovely lady. I love her to death. But you can tell. I mean, she's. I feel like if you're an old lady, you've put up with horse shit. Period. And I know she has, and she's a strong person too. So a lot of older people out here are, because it's like they've seen some shit. God, my mom's mom, like, they're in the Dust Bowl, fuck. Anyways, but so that's my weird connection to Candace Hilligoss. And when you and I were talking about this, you were like, maybe we could talk to her. And I was like, because I'm so shy and I have such bad anxiety and stuff. I was like, like, there's probably a world where I could, because when you look at her website, she fucking loves Carnival of Souls. She talks about it all the time.
Yeah, she really does.
Have you noticed that, looking into her?
Yeah, and have you thought about contacting Donna and seeing if they still talk? Did you ask her that?
No, and I don't think they do, because I think she said something like that, but I could ask sometime. But I also, I mean, I'm 43 and was previously involved in acting and have fans, and I don't want to talk to anybody. So if I times that age by over 2, 2 and change, it's like, fuck, I don't know if she's going to want to talk to anybody either. So I don't know.
I mean, I mean, think about it. Like, Shelley Duvall, like, disappeared basically from everyone until she just recently, before she passed away, she got a following again.
Before she died,
she was like really excited to talk about all the movies that she did and everything. So you never know. Maybe she wants to talk about it. Who knows? I mean, I did look on the website, but there was no contact information. There was like no email, so I'm thinking it's not active anymore.
Well, kudos to these 88-year-old ladies who have their own websites and are texting me back and everything else.
Yeah, because they lived
good deal.
They lived in a time when women couldn't vote. So
yeah. Well, and also, so that also, but well, it was they were probably born right after that, though.
Oh yeah,
like
right after.
It's
my brain.
And we're talking, it's now they're born in the 30s probably. But anyways, but still, I mean, yeah, they saw a lot of change happen for women.
They couldn't have bank accounts. I know that.
Yeah, and lots of things. But the what I was getting at was the technology. It's like, old ladies using technology. Good job, gals. But anyways, I just thought that was very cool. And the first time I saw this and I wrote my little letterbox review, it was basically just that story. And I just think it's great. And I love these random things. And it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, then after Donna called me, I was like, hey, how are you doing? And that's important to do with your old people, your grandparents and whatever.
I like how she just immediately called you. She didn't even text you back. She was just like, I can imagine her being like so excited, like, oh my God, how does he know this? I have to find out.
Well, yeah, and she said she's, it's 7:30, 8:30 at night. She's probably sitting at home, maybe, I don't know, having a glass of wine or some water or something, about to go to bed. And then like, oh, here's a mystery, thank God. I'm 88 years old. It's not always, I don't always have a lot of stuff to do. Here's a mystery. Let's get in it, So
and
that's probably what it was. But
if you didn't have your love for horror and never stumbled across this movie, you never would have found out that you're
step-grandma
connected to it somehow. There you go.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's nuts. Horror brings us all together.
Yeah, and the last time I saw Donna, we went to a play my daughter was in. We went together this summer, and she was like, that's so... I just thought it was so weird about you find out about Candace. I'm like, no, isn't that fun? And, so we're talking about it. And yeah, so, and also kudos to Donna for remembering high school. Because I don't.
I don't
and she
either.
has 45 years on me. I'm thinking Donna didn't do as many drugs or alcohol as we did, buddy. I think that's probably the issue. But,
I did a lot of drugs in high school, so that's my excuse why I can't remember much of it.
Yeah.
Too much.
Well, I was at a ska band. That's my excuse. It's bad for you. But yeah, and I can't believe until we just started talking today, like, oh yeah, Donna was an organist. So I wonder if maybe that's how she and Candace knew each other, because I couldn't tell from this movie. But so Candace plays, so Mary in the movie, the main character, she's an organist. And there's definitely some parts where they're playing, but did it seem like she was doing it for real? I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either. And the composer of the organ music in this film,
Yeah.
that's why she has that job, I think. I don't know if it was, from what I could tell from some of the interviews, is that she didn't originally have that job.
I think they had gotten this guy, I wrote it named on somewhere, but anyways, they got this guy who was the organ composer, so obviously they want to do organ music. Gene Moore. So they might have known Gene Moore, and they could get him to do a score for cheap or free or whatever. So they're like, okay, well, to make it make sense, we'll make her an organist. I wrote about the organ score. I said, organ score, then in parentheses, Scorgan, by Gene Moore or Score Morgan. But the organ, it's almost all organ. There's a little bit of strings and stuff. But man, it's a weird score, but it's awesome.
I just had one of those laughs where like I breathed out and in really hard.
So it hurt kind of?
Yeah.
Like it hurts your chest a little bit, right? Yeah. Wait, I'm not looking at the video. I should be, because I probably could have seen you almost die. But anyway,
yeah, my face is probably really red right now.
We're Screw Morgan. I'm wearing lederhosen too, so.
Well, I love, speaking of the organ music, it is a perfect choice. Organ music, church music, to me has always been creepy. It is one of the creepiest sounds that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that like
For
she
sure.
works for a church and is an organist, and they're talking about, and carnivals are creepy too.
Mm-hmm.
So that all gives all that tied together gives that extra mystique of creep that works really well. But it's not overplayed. Like the organ music
None
isn't
of it
annoying.
It's all very
It's done really well.
In fact, you brought up Rob Zombie, and now I'm thinking of something. So, Rob Zombie, especially in his early films like House of a Thousand Corpses and stuff, especially, he likes all this stuff, and so his movies are every time you watch a Rob Zombie movie, I like at least a few of his movies, but it also feels like he's always there, like being like, look at this thing I like, look at this thing I like, look at this thing I've got, you know? And now you mentioned, well, this movie was kind of like that too. Like, we got this building, we got this organ, we can shoot in some churches, and they're all creepy things. Let's put them together. But it never, like you said, it never hits you over the head with it. And I feel like a whole movie feels very natural and very kind of, there's a realism to it, you know?
Yeah, we're like literally just following this woman trying to, like you said, rebuild her life after a tragedy.
Yeah.
And I really think it's cool that they have her drive by that that structure in the same way that the director did, like stumbled upon it.
Mm-hmm.
They basically do the same thing where she's like, what is that? That looks really cool. I have to go back and investigate and see what that building is. And did you look it up?
You're right,
is it still there?
It caught in her mind.
Is it still there?
Saltaire.
I didn't look it up.
Oh, is it still there?
Yeah,
okay.
the structure.
I think you said, is the building called Cold Air? I said it's called Saltaire. But yeah, I don't know. I meant to look that up. Oh, because it would be a totally understandable mistake or a thing to think. Okay.
Yeah, I totally forgot to look it up.
Okay. The first Saltaire Pavilion and a few other buildings were destroyed by fire April 2nd, 1925. So the one we see in the movie is probably Saltaire 2. So, and they were trying to breathe new life into it. And then finally, an arson fire was set in the center of the wooden dance floor and destroyed the main pavilion. A previous arson fire in September 1967 destroyed the concourse, entry gate, concession stands, and various other support structures, but spared the main building. So, right after they shot this movie, it started getting fucked up. And so, let's see, proximity to Interstate 80. So Interstate 80 goes near here. Is probably before it was an interstate. That's probably the road she's on, actually. But so then they tried to make another Saltaire. And when was this? In like 2005.
Oh.
In 2005, several investors from the music industry pooled together to purchase the building and are now holding regular concerts there.
Ah, cool.
They did rebuild the pavilion because obviously it's been on fire. It's been fucked up sideways 1.5 million times. But the new pavilion was constructed out of a salvaged aircraft hangar from the nearby Air Force base, and was put they put it up about a mile west of the original. So, but now they have concerts there.
So the original isn't there. Okay.
The original is not there. It was.
Okay.
I would assume it was a structural. It was
integrity was
safety
gone.
hazard.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
But yeah, what a cool looking building. And I mean, yeah. So if it caught in his mind, and so you're right. The main character it catches in her mind too. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That's so I love that.
Yeah, and well, they do a really good job. Like they don't. It's just like you said with the organ. They don't hit you over the head with it. With the building thing, like she sees it when she's moving into Salt Lake City, and she's like, "Oh, what is?" And then she asks somebody, like, "What is that building?" Right, a little bit later, and then she sees it again. She's like staring at it through the window or something, and just every once in a while, and then finally she tries to go in it, and the priest is like, "No." And then she later does, and of course, and that's the end. But
it's almost like she's drawn to it for some reason, and she can't put her finger on it.
Right, which is probably how the guy felt. Herc Harvey. It's like you feel the presence of it in the movie without seeing it all the time, you know? Because it's like you as a viewer, like, no, there's that building, and that there's something, whatever the answer is in the building, and it's kind of there in the back of your mind and the character's mind the whole time, like, kind of looming over this whole situation. And it's also because the way they shot it is like a giant black mass, like this huge thing. And they made it look really weird and scary, you know?
Yeah, but when they were filming, that building didn't have any power, so they had to find a guy to get some power to it when they were filming the ballroom scene, and so they had like their own lights, and they weren't able to light the whole thing. So that's kind of what also gave it its air of mystique, is that they have no budget for lighting. Sometimes stuff like that works in your favor.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of what filmmaking is like rolling with the punches. And yes, and then and the good ones turn the left turns into successes. You know, they turn the surprises and the things like this into, okay, well, how can we work this in our favor that we don't have power in this building? Oh, it'll only make it look even more fucking terrifying. Cool. So
Herc talks about that there was a scene that got accidentally burned of the film. That there were some more shots that were supposed to be in it that sadly got lost when they were processing the film. There was a shot of, when you're looking out at the ocean, they have those pillars that are sticking out, kind of like for a boardwalk. They had all of the creepy ghoul people popping out from behind them. And he said, like, the lighting was really cool because of when they filmed it, the time of day they filmed it. And he was really sad that they lost that. I was like, dang it. Because stuff like that happens, too. Like, that's, like, a thing you can't control, especially then with processing that type of film. It's like they didn't have a backup. It's not digital.
Right. What do you do?
So.
Well, and I'll even tell you, even with digital, shit happens.
Yeah.
Because when we were shooting the Civil War on Drugs in season 5, we shot this scene it was actually with a couple of dudes from the band of Montreal that Sam randomly befriended at a Guitar Center. And so they wanted to be in the movie. So we're like, cool. So we went out upstate New York somewhere, I think, and we were shooting, and we were all dressed up in Civil War garb, and it was a campfire scene. And we had to shoot day for night, meaning it was supposed to be at night, but we shot during the day. And it took a long time. And then, we're done. We go home, whatever. Well, that night, the production assistant took the van after he dropped everybody off to their homes, drives the van to the office, gets out, did not lock the car.
No!
And somebody grabbed the little strong box out there that had all the petty cash for that day and the fucking footage. So we had to reshoot several things.
That sucks.
The Old Folks Home, which made it into the show, had to get reshot. And that scene did end up in the movie as well. It's one of my favorite parts where Zach's playing some tough guy. He's like, I just shot that bullet straight up in the air. Do you remember that? Have you seen Civil War on Drugs?
Yeah. Timmy, I have to take a break for a sec.
Okay.
My landlord always does this. Like, they tell me shit last minute. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they said the inspector was here yesterday at noon, but I guess he didn't show up. So they're like, hey, he's there. He's going to ring your bell. I'm like, I'm in the middle of something. Why can't you tell me this stuff
Yeah.
like in the morning or the day before?
Right, that sucks. All right,
Well,
well,
we
let's quick
have,
do an outro then, just in case.
yeah.
Shady has to go because apparently there's a gas leak in her apartment, and we
No!
don't want her to get started in a carnival. Shut up! Hey, this is for the. I had a whole thing I was gonna do.
I'll do
I was
it.
gonna say Shandy has to go because there's a gas leak in her apartment, and we don't want her to end up in the Carnival of Souls, right? Like we don't want you to wander around not knowing you're dead. So I guess you have to go.
It means you care. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's very heartfelt. Thank
What?
you.
Well, I don't want you to die. I mean, shit, I haven't gotten to put these out yet.
Well,
I
that's
need you to draw
comforting.
in all those America's Next Top Model fans. How am I going to get those people to listen to this without you? You know what I mean?
That's true. No, but I got
no, I actually think you're all right.
Thank you.
What? What now?
I've got warped floorboards in my living room, and they're supposed to come look at them because it's really bad.
Okay.
And I've almost fallen and busted my head open a couple
Jeez.
times. So,
And you're
'cause
tall, so that's a long ways down.
yeah, because I'll get up from my couch, and it's just a foot,
Ugh.
maybe half a foot from where I have to stand up. So sometimes I'll forget and stand on it, and I'm like,
Ugh.
whoa, shit.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I had one of those in my Brooklyn apartment, and I bet a lot of people had that because all those buildings are way too fucking old. They should probably be burned down too. But, wow. Yeah,
shit.
that's... Well, in case we don't talk about it anymore, what is your final thoughts on Carnival of Souls? Before it's at least give me that, so then if we have to, we can make this the ending.
Carnival of Souls is a must-see if you are a horror nerd like we are, and it doesn't matter if you are a horror nerd and you've never seen it. We can't see everything.
No.
We haven't heard of everything. That's what makes it cool to come across new things.
Yeah, I've never seen Rosemary's Baby. Yeah. Anyway.
What?
I know. I know.
Well, I'm going to do that to you sometimes too. You'll say a movie that I haven't seen and you haven't, and you'll be like, what?
And I'll never be mad. I'll never be mad about that. But I will be surprised sometimes, I'm sure. But
Yeah. I mean, Rosemary's Baby, that's a big one. That's a big one.
yeah, we should probably watch it. And this one, I think, in a lot of ways, is a big one too because it's not popular. No one in it got famous.
Me too.
Only film for most of the people in it. But when you watch it, like I said earlier, Lost. Those people saw this. Stanley Kubrick seen this. Tim Burton has absolutely seen this. Because he's had lots of characters over the years that kind of look like the ghouls from this. Also, who's seen it? David Lynch. Don't you think so? This has a lot of his weird 50s-ish dream worlds in movies like Twin Peaks, obviously, but also Mulholland Drive. And, he's definitely seen this. George Romero definitely fucking saw this, and this was made before Night of the Living Dead. And George Romero also, that was another case, just a bunch of dudes and ladies who lived in a town were like, hey, let's make a thing. So he's probably not only inspired.
This is after Night of the Living Dead, by the way. Isn't it?
No, this is before. This is 62, isn't it?
Yeah, but
No, this was shot before.
Living Dead is like 59, isn't it?
That was later. Yeah, 1968. Yep. So.
Oh, 68. Okay. Actually, oh yeah, no. Yeah, I'm dumb.
No, it's okay. Hey, no one remembers everything. A lot of people look at Night of the Living Dead and like, oh yeah, indie horror started there. Well, Anyway, so it's a super influential movie.
I wonder, yeah, if George Romero saw it
I bet he did.
and is a fan of it. He probably is.
Well, he's not anymore. He's dead.
Yeah.
But
Anyways. So that's going to happen on this podcast a lot too, is that I'm going to get a lot of dates and things wrong and mixed up
oh, who cares?
because I have dyslexia, so give me a break.
Oh, yeah. And so if you are listening, and I mean, sometimes I'll catch it and be nice to Shandy about it, like I was just now, right? I wasn't a dick about the Night of the Living Dead thing. Was I?
No.
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 Okay. So a lot of times, hopefully, I'll catch it, or she'll catch some of my script. But if one of us makes a mistake and we don't catch it, and life just continues, don't fucking tell us, right?
Yeah, we don't need to know because we don't care.
Yeah, because you know what? It's fine. She has so many cats. I have a kid and stuff. Like, we have other stuff to do, so it's fine. We'll be all right. You just keep that. You just keep that little nugget to yourself, my friend.
Yeah, don't come here to have everything correct
Yeah.
because that's not why we're talking about these movies.
Right.
We're not talking about them for trivia reasons.
No, we're talking so you can hear me go "Wah, wah, 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 wah," and hear Shandi like actually have like a reasonable, researched viewpoint, and then I'll go "Wah, wah, wah, wah."
Well, what did you say with the organ thing? Morgan, organ.
Organ score by Gene Moore, the or score Morgan.
I seriously almost peed in my pants when I took that breath in. I'm still kind of holding it now, but
Okay.
well, that was really funny. And that
I agree.
You know what, Timmy? I think every episode you've made a notable like T-shirt.
Oh yeah, shit. Or score Morgan.
So, Morgan.
There you go. We'll have a little German guy in Lederhosen saying it. But, you know, I once was told by a legend in South Dakota local radio to never laugh at your own jokes. And to myself, I said, this bitch has never made a joke funny enough to make himself laugh.
No shit.
Because, look, I wrote down, look, and I agree with him 90% of the time. If people say something and start laughing at it, you sound lame. But, I mean, I wrote or score Morgan, and I can't even fucking say it without laughing. That's funny. I don't care whose head it came out of. It happened to come out of mine. Great. Or score Morgan fucking is great. And I'm going to laugh about it, and that's all there is to it. Who cares if I wrote it, you know?
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
It's okay to like your own stuff.
I feel like, what's the point? If you don't like your own fucking jokes,
Yeah.
what's the fucking point of doing it?
Well, and that's why, you know, Whitest Kids rule number one with stuff is like, if it didn't make all of us laugh, we weren't going to do it, you know? So.
Yeah, what's the point? Why call yourself a comedy troupe?
Exactamundo. So, yeah. Because then we're just doing whatever people want.
All right, I gotta let the guy in. I gotta let the guy in.
All right, bye, buddy.
Love
okay,
you, bye.
Love you, bye. Adios. Okay, Shandy's good.
Text me.
Yeah, I'll text you. Shandy's gone. I'm not gonna stop the episode recording. We'll see if this works. She has to pee. I'm gonna talk for a little bit more by myself. And I guess that's appropriate because this movie is very much about isolation. Mary in the movie is isolated, right? She is physically isolated, she's mentally isolated, and she's metaphysically isolated because she is unknowingly to herself, she's dead and everybody else is alive. So the fact that I'm left alone is probably good. I wanted to make one more note. She's going through this carnival, and she's looking at one of those big, curvy plastic slides that you see at the big carnivals, and or smaller carnivals. Really, you see them more often, I suppose, like the traveling ones. But anyways, she's looking at this big, curvy slide thing, and then a mattress comes down. And I was like, oh, shit, did they used to do those with mattresses? Because everybody listening, I'm sure they still do it this way. It's potato sacks is what you take down those things now. So, yeah. And the other thing I wrote down, I would have loved to talk to Shandi about this, but there you go. Just want to say, if this were 20 years later, Mary, the main character of Carnival of Souls, would be Queen of the Goths, right? She's very cold and over it, but also very beautiful and stylish, but also like doesn't want to just kind of like, she's obsessed with existentialism, she doesn't know it, but she's obsessed with death, you know, so anyways. That might be the end of this episode. So, thank you for listening. And if you've never seen Carnival of Souls, like Shandi said, check it out. You can find it, I believe Shudder still has it. It's out there streaming. Also, if you are a movie collector, Blu-ray collector like me, next time there's a sale on Criterion, which I think is November. Don't forget to, subscribe? Is that what you call it on Spotify? Subscribe, like, comment, do the things, the electronic ones and zeros things that show us you like what we're doing and that you want to see more. So, hear more, whatever. Always helpful. And also, thank you once again to Jordan Cooper. He composed our theme, and he's the best. That song's the best. And I think you can see him in that Joker movie, the new one, about... singing. He's in there somewhere, so check it out. Anyways, thank you also to Shandi, my co-host. She's cool. And she didn't really have a gas leak. She's okay. Anyways, thank you so much. Have a good evening.